Alright, making a video. Why bother? Humans. Oh, anyway. So comments, and then we'll do something else maybe. So somebody WW, like Wilbur Wayne or something. It's probably the cowboy. I just don't know why he just doesn't go to hell and die. I mean, I'm just so sick of this crap. It's just useless mush. Who the fuck is Milo Matthews? I mean, you know, that's supposed to be funny or something. Yeah, I mean, it's a real person on Earth who has arguments to make, and that was the subject of the video. Why'd you even watch the video? Why are you here? What are you doing? You're just like, how do these people? I don't know how can their brains say I'm winning, I'm working properly, I'm functioning well, when they can do this crap, this stupid time wasting shit. Ugh. All right. So Bob says math is conformatory, whatever the fuck that means. You know, might as well say hyperburloidy. Okay, math is hyperburloidy. It can validate or invalidate a theory. It really, you know, I think that's kind of just nonsense. All right, I mean, math can just represent the variables that exist in formulas. It's just a formalization of relationships that exist. We can discover that the relationship exists. I mean, you could kind of figure out that, you know, there's a certain probability of dice rolling, right? And you can figure out that there's a certain probability of certain things, certain outcomes. And you can also figure out that certain outcomes, like the dice landing on top of each other, all with the number 5 showing, could be trillions to 1. That is, there would be no way to have an experiment where you have any expectation that doing the experiment 10 times you could get that result 10 times in a row or something. It would be beyond some sort of, you know, I mean, you can't make absolute statements. You can just say it's beyond what could be a reasonable expectation. But there's no, math doesn't prove anything. It just doesn't. So it's just, it has a function in just making it possible for you to take the essence of something and you know, formalize it, make it step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you've just taken the essence of what the substance of the thing is. It's a nice piece of reductionism, but that's all. You still have to discover the truth before you can write the mathematics. It doesn't write itself. You kind of have to know before you write 2 plus 2 equals 4 that 2 plus 2 equals 4. For example, you could use data to extrapolate how many particles are hitting the Earth. Yeah, you could use data, not math. So yeah, you'd first have to know how many particles are hitting a square inch, for example. So you first have to have data, and then you can write a formula based on other formulas you've written where you know that, well, 1 square inch is 1/100th of, you know, 100 square inches, and then you can do it's 1/1000th of 1,000 square inches, and you can know those relationships, and so then you can use your data to make predictions about larger surfaces like the whole entire Earth. But so what? I believe NASA has such data, I don't even know what that means, and you could attempt to see how much of the spacecraft that would normally hit the Earth is being filtered out by the moon. An amazingly silly argument. The spacecraft, you know, most of the spacecraft that we put up there is one kind of crap. The crap falling on the Earth, I don't think they know that, frankly, in terms of the absolute amounts of energy actually getting to the Earth. You got the whole, you know, magnosphere that's deflecting a ton of energy. So this is just all kind of crap. And again, you're just totally ignoring the theory. Okay, the gravity isn't blocked by anything like that anyway, and it has to be absorbed as momentum. So again, it's like you didn't pay any attention anyway. It has nothing to do with what hits the surface of the Earth. It has to do with what momentum, okay, which is a mass argument. How much momentum is collected. If the calculations were made using, it would validate or invalidate the usual conception of push gravity. It's just a silly argument. It's already been validated. It's called mock gravity. Go look up the page. The concept is infallible as a mechanism for creating the inverse square law. That it can't be in dispute by anybody rational, you jackass. Fuck. I mean, it's just, what? It's just so stupid. I might know a man who could make the calculations. I doubt you do, because there's nothing to do with any fucking calculations. The calculations aren't in dispute, you stupid asswipe. What the Earth does is not being argued, you fucking retard. Whether it's bent space doing it, okay, or an actual force is the fucking thing in dispute, you stupid shit. I mean, how many times do I have to say it right to your fucking faces? Man, it's just so stupid. Or point me to the paper that has. I mean, amazing. Just amazing tripe. There's some paper written about the broken pieces of ray energy coming from the cosmic background, the same location as the cosmic background radiation. Now, I don't think there is, jackass. I am glad that you have pointed out push gravity to me. Well, I'm not glad, because it doesn't seem to me that you understand the concept at all. By push, it means that it's absorbing energy, okay? It doesn't mean literally that it just gets pushed and then the thing that pushes it runs away. The push is an absorption of momentum. When you absorb momentum, when I absorb, say you're standing behind me, jackass, okay, and some professional fighter comes up and he hits me in the fucking face. Well, the fucking punch would have hit you if I wasn't in the fucking way. Can you understand that? Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, it seems to me that must be right. Well, if it seems like it must be right, then why are you so obnoxious to just accepting that all we're really doing is saying, well, is it some silly notion of pull, or is it some more rational notion of push, which makes infinitely more sense since there really isn't anything that's ever been proven to be a pull. Go ahead and show me the elemental pull somewhere in the world, and you're not going to find one. All right, but I cannot make the calculations myself. So again, what are you going to calculate, jackass? Please explain to me what you're going to calculate. Calculations can only tell you what the effect is. It cannot tell you what the cause is. Causes don't do effects. You could write, you could write a formula for God's will on earth, okay, in terms of the effects. You can say, well, there's a 17% chance that it'll give you a terminal illness and a 16%, blah, blah, blah. And you can do a whole statistical analysis. Now, it doesn't tell you why God did it. Doesn't tell you what God was thinking. It doesn't do any of that shit, right? And certainly you could just replace the whole God thing with, well, that's the probability of, that's the definition of human frailty in terms of the mechanisms that are innately trying to kill us. And then you can do an analysis of, the genetic fluctuations over time and the fact that just imbeciles and sick people are the ones having babies. But whatever. You just don't get it. Math is not going to tell you what causes something. Math doesn't do that. You could write a statistical analysis of Old Faithful, right? That's not going to tell you exactly where the clump of pressure is, 200 feet below the ground, where the air is being trapped and then the water boils up and then finally it all pushes through. It's not going to explain any of that shit. You dumbass. Math isn't going to tell you why Old Faithful is fateful, which it isn't anymore, but anyway. I will see if I can get my friend to help me make an attempt and get back to you. Look, I appreciate any effort you make to play with the ideas that I have provided, so I don't mean to discourage that in any way, but you're walking backwards. You're not going to help the cause any, okay? It's not going to do me any good but you're not going to find it, all right? You're not going to find mathematical cause data. It's not going to happen. And again, what happens isn't in dispute. I'm not disputing that magnets are attracted and magnets are repelled when you turn them around. I'm not disputing how much energy a charges create. I'm not disputing, again, the inverse square law. I'm not disputing any of the fucking goddamn noticed and revealed and seen effects. Effects aren't in dispute. Causes are in dispute. Shit. I mean, clearly with Maxwell's equations, I would say they need another step. Okay? They're not finished. Because there's no point in having an E field and a B field. The fields are made of the same shit. It's the same force. No point in calling it E and B. Can we really leave Earth's gravitational field, though? So this is some religious kook. What are you doing here? I don't know why people are interacting with the religious kook. So this is stick that in your pipe. So this is obviously cowboy bullshit again. How come out of Gary's thousands of or so subscribers who all believe he's some sort of genius, not one of them knows enough math? Here we go again. Enough math to do what? Change observed reality? None of them know enough math to change observed reality. It's just so stupid. They just keep doing it over and over. They keep thinking that because you're saying causes are different, you're saying effects are different. No, that's not what I'm doing. That they might be able to put his theory in some mathematical footing for him. It already has mathematical footing. I sit here and constantly say things like the inverse square law. I point out how it fits perfectly with the symmetry of an external pressure, an even pressure, that creates spherical symmetry. It will cause things to go round, and it will cause the inverse square law. Yeah. I point out how what we know to be mathematically true is perfectly consistent with what I'm saying, dumbass. And it's perfectly inconsistent in a way with what they're saying. All right. Are there really that many burger flippers who are into science dualism? So I don't even know what that means, but fuck off. Stick it in your ass. So what Bob say? I can do math until it involves anything much more than complicated, anything much more complicated than differential equations in linear algebra, but I'm pretty good through calculus 1 and 2 and 3 for sure. My vector calculus needs work. But the fact that you're saying you know math and you haven't figured out that math is a simplification, a crude essential description of effects. What else is it? Again, show me in the wave equation where there's a wave in the wave equation. Show me where Huygens is in the wave equation. Show me any of that kind. It's not there. Causes aren't in the math. The reason is because the calculations are more difficult than they sound. Well, clearly some of the math, when you get into irrational numbers, yes, that's really quite irrational. And half of what you are dealing with are the concepts. You're not dealing with the concepts that are actually in the thing that's happening. You're dealing with the fact that you can convert everything into symbols, and sometimes those symbols are just a set, you know, and they're well, concept is a good word. I mean, you're you know, you turn things into something else so you can manipulate them and then try to convert them back into the right language at the end. But I would argue that most of that math isn't that fucking useful. It isn't as easy as it sounds. A lot of people speak Ligurian. You try to speak it. Languages like math take a lot of work. So again, I'd say this is just kind of silly. Most math just has to do with, you know, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's the big part of it all. Is those manipulators, those functions, and they all have a certain kind of function, a purpose, a use. Squaring and square roots, you could add those. You know, those are the real heart of mathematics, and that language isn't all that complicated. So anyway, I'll just delete this since it's a response to a comment nobody should have responded to. So, I mean, I'm sorry, collarbone fairy guy, but look, religion shit. Well, I'll wait till the next comment where he says some kind of shit about his religion. It's not what I'm doing here. I'm not here to debunk your insanity, your silly delusions. You're a genius, but God is real. It's a simulation. No, it isn't. So I don't know who Steve Beck is. Seems to post some rational comments, but then he's irrational, so I don't know what he is. Neither a God nor a simulation have any evidence. Maybe chances for a God is about 0.2 higher. Again, neither one have any chance in the sense that they're both purely made up. So you can't even place a probability on something entirely contrived. It's like the dog-do fairy. I can make up the dog-do fairy, but there's just really, you can't really put a probability chance on it because I just made it the fuck up. They do have evidence, and I'll show you. You won't show anything. Also, it's common sense. Now, it's idiot, a moron. An idiocracy comes up with these idiotic notions. A fucking God that tortures animals every day for no good reason. A person without God is no better than a chair. Your opinion. I think you're no better than the scratches on the floor from the chair. I mean, you're just really useless noise. You're just destructive to function. You wouldn't be trying this if there wasn't a God. It's just more idiotic nonsense. It created you. Well, I'm glad you call it an it, because yeah, it's an asshole. If God existed, it'd have to be an asshole. It tortures things for no good reason. You're bowing to an asshole. You might as well be, you know, kissing drunk drivers. You're a jerk. And in a world of both good and evil, well, clearly the biggest pile of evil is, you know, your God. It's more of a truth to believe God is love. Like, what kind of love? Torture, that's love. Alzheimer's is love. Giving a 5-year-old leukemia is love. Fuck God in the ass till really thoroughly dead. I'd vote for Hitler before I'd vote for God. Like how Jesus said God is love. Jesus said a lot of horse shit. He said, let the poor, he said, the poor will be with you always. That's what the Savior said. I've come to save you all and forgive you. But yes, most of you are going to stay poor and dirty and leprosy-ridden. That's my wonderful gift to you. Same old, same old. Yes, after you've all been saved, everything will be exactly the same as it was before you were saved. Isn't that wonderful? Fuck you, retard. Nobody is not the same as they, and you have not shown any, so I don't know what the hell that even means. Nobody has any evidence to simulation for God. Science explains why we're existing. Well, I don't think they're doing a very good job is the whole fucking point. And their explanation is getting sillier and sillier every fucking day. Look up abiogenesis instead of the book of Genesis. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you just have to look in the eyes of a minky and you'll see yourself there. Have a good day, mate. Do you believe in the earth is flat? Because I find it better to believe so. So he's not only a dopey religious kook, he's a fucking flat earther. So anyway, this whole conversation should never have taken place on any of my boards here. You're just wasting people's time with this bibble. So, just too fucking silly and stupid and irrelevant and nonsensical and fucking retarded. Alright, so let's get this little piece of crap, make sure it goes away too. Collarbone fairy. Why would somebody call themselves? I love Jesus, so I'll call myself Collarbone Fairy. Makes a lot of sense, right? So, Alina Engineer. Very good. Confusing for me. Well, that's not the same as very good. Confusing. Yeah, not a good transition. But I believe mostly I understand. Well, that's good. Variation of timing of the reference photon, yes, and image photon is creating amount of energy for creating impressions for each angle on the point. Yes, well, the point is the reference is at a different angle than the image, and that's why the reference is sort of necessary to get the image back. Yeah, but yes, very good. Mathis is arrogant and paranoid. Yes, well, gee, tell us something we don't already know. All right, whatever this is, schisgalactic, whatever. Scientific theories need reconstruction every now and then, says you. I mean, it's just stupid, right? Like, oh, we can never get it right. It could never finish the job. No, there's finished points in science. Some of it doesn't need reconstruction. If they don't need reconstruction, they would be facts, not theories. Well, there are facts. There are a pile of them. Evolution, for example. Fact. The more facts we know, so again, the less radical become the changes in our theories. Obviously, the more information you have, yes, the less mistakes you're going to be making. True. The better you can see, what's happening, then the better you know what's happening. Yes, of course. Hence, they are becoming more and more consistent. No, as I've demonstrated, they're becoming more and more inconsistent. You think entanglement and qubits are things that are well evidenced and consistent with the evidence? String theory, all this other nonsense, multiverses, all this made up crap? You think they've done good science in the last 50 years? Then you're silly. You think they're relying on hard evidence more? No. They don't need any evidence at all anymore. They just make it up. They just make up dark energy. No evidence that the damn thing exists. They make up dark matter. No evidence that it exists. They just found a problem in their own math and say, well, let's fix the math by inventing some new thing that exists. Let's invent an invisible man to explain the cause. That's all it is. We take the theory of gravitation. It has not been changed in 400 years. So I don't even know why you'd say something that's fucking stupid. Clearly, the explanations of what's causing it have changed. Newton had no explanation. He didn't feign explanation, in his own words, stating what he said. He does not pretend to offer you an explanation for causes. He doesn't know, clearly. And then Einstein fuddles around and says, I'm going to give you a cause, and it's going to be something stupid. I'm going to say something like, well, it's bent space-time stuff. The space-time, Everybody knows what that is, right? And proposed that there's some new dimension called a time dimension. I mean, fuck you. It hasn't changed in 400 years. It's a stupid statement. Yeah, I'm just going to delete it. It's stupid. I responded to it. It's stupid. James Cat. Mate. This is so sad. LOL. You're brutally honest about your feelings. I'm, yes, brutally honest that, yes, this planet is just covered with assholes. Good video, though. You are the gatekeeper of true meaning of face the cold, hard bastard truth. I don't know if that's really what I'm saying. I'm just saying the truth has to mean something. All these people just fucking stepping all over it. It's wiping their ass with it. It's unacceptable. Holiday. Wow, salvaged by down thumb bots. Yes, I don't know whether you haven't noticed that already, but yes. So the video at one time had 60, down votes, 0 up votes. So what? Who cares? Obviously, there's little petty people in the world. So this Robert Ritchie says, did you like that, question mark? Just remember that. What the fuck could that mean? And why would somebody thumb it up? I mean, what the fuck could that possibly mean? Did you like that, question mark? Just remember that. What could that mean? I mean, it's almost time to block this guy. I mean, what the fuck could that mean? It's such a stupid remark. So I'll get rid of Hothliday's remark because it's obviously not really relevant because the Google fixed it. So, all right. Polysyllaby. Thanks for your views. Okay, I guess he means my offering my opinion. I pretty much agree with you. Okay. This is kind of a vague statement, but we'll accept it as okay, thanks. Good. Once a drunk. So this is like the cowboy. But it's actually a civil comment, which is strange. So what happens if you were to cut the magnet in half? So I've already explained this. This is just basic. Little kids could understand this. Maybe I'll draw a picture of it. Then you got two magnets that aren't magnets anymore, since one is completely blue and the other is completely red, which is just idiotic. It's not the way magnets work. The magnet is always made out of little magnets. Unless you have an atomic magnet, an atom, a dipole magnet, a dipole-ish atom, an ion or something. And that's indivisible. But the rest of the magnets are just, the idea is the magnets are all pointing in a direction, and that's creating the blue end and the red end, is the way they're pointing. So they're, as I pointed out, they're moving force left and moving force right, depending on which end is down and which end is up, which end is plus and which end is minus. Just like current flows in a wire in a certain direction. Not that complicated. Or am I missing something? Yes, you're missing something. That's already been explained. So I pointed out, you can't cut the atoms in half. So when the magnets are separated, I should have said they split. Oh no, I said separated. The split is between the staggered dipole atoms. So the atoms don't split in half. They split at the seams of the atoms. And the seams of the atoms will always have a north end going down. All the atoms will be north end when you separate them as atoms. So then you'll just recreate whatever pole is the bottom. And the top pole will be the opposite. So you'll always just recreate the pole that you're missing. So I don't need to draw a picture. I think that explains it. And you end up with a new north, a new N or south pole as surfaces. So they separate at the seams of the atoms, not in the middle of the atoms. All right. So Robert Ritchie. I doubt you, Ken Wheeler, and Scientific Lee. Putting the three of us in the same category is just retarded. Neither Ken Wheeler isn't obviously a dopey Christian. Scientific Lee is insanely Christian nutty. And obviously I don't agree with either one of these wavy kooks. There are fundamental flaws in your basic principles, says you, with no rationale, no evidence, no quotes, no anything, just crap. You think I care about your stupid fucking opinion when you don't source it, when you don't defend it with anything called evidence? Do you think your opinion could possibly matter to me, asswipe? Fact 1. There won't be a fact here. Radio waves and photons are separate but related entities. Well, isn't that incredibly mushy, meaningless mush? I never said light photons are exactly the same thing as radar. Never said that. But clearly I have pointed out, yes, it's made of the same stuff. And the only thing that's really different is the frequency between the little bits. So what do I need your fact for? Oh, that's right, I don't need it. Fact 2, it is the velocity of light. Like it's the velocity of force, idiot. All the forces have the same velocity, as I've already pointed out 600 times. Not the rate of induction. Well, whatever, I don't think anything's being induced. Okay, so it makes no difference to me. Rate of induction is only half of the physical action of energy. How is this relevant to me? So again, you want to argue your wacky ether theory? As I've pointed out, thank God, conventional theory doesn't actually... they obviously believe in ether, but they obviously never say it. So at least I don't have to have that kind of flat earth argument about the pointlessness of your stupid ether. But I'm not here to argue your wacky theory, silly person. Fact 3. There is a purely electric dimension. No evidence at all. Zero evidence of this dimension. You'll never provide evidence of any force that has any property that cannot be directly described as a manifestation of magnetic. And there is a purely magnetic dimension. There's no such things. So again, you'll never have evidence for that. You'll never provide any shred of evidence for any property that you'll ever be able to detect in either of those fields that could allow you to distinguish them from each other. There is an electric dimension to the ether. Wasting my time. One electric and one magnetic. Says you. The ether has other properties too. Who cares? I think they're silly. I think it's stupid. Believe whatever silly religion you want, but again, as I stated, it has nothing to do with this channel, so just go somewhere else. All right, I'm here to do one thing: compare my theory to the shit, all right, that professional physics people believe. That's it. There's no other agenda here. They're the ones I have to argue with. Arguing with a tinfoil hatter like you doesn't get me anywhere. Proving you a kook doesn't get me anywhere. Unlike you, Gary, the video will include... What video? All relevant formulas. I doubt it will include anything that means anything to anybody rational. What formula? Again, how are you changing the effects? You have formulas that change the effects that we already have they're already established as effects? Yeah, I don't think so. Diagrams and correlated experimental proof. I don't think you'll have any of that stuff. But go ahead. I won't block you. But when you get around to making a video, sure, post me a link to your shit. But I'm sure it'll be shit. These people are just so pathetic. Alright, so I think I will block Once a Drunk. It's just a stupid name, and he did post the link to the silly, whatever, cowboy video that you can't even watch because it's so badly done. So I think I'll just block him for that. Be done with it. Alright, now let's move on to something else. I did notice something I saw that was curious. 60 symbols on the subject of energy. So I said, well, this is probably worth a laugh. I mean, their video on electrons was so bad that we might as well see how badly they fuck up the subject of energy.
Did you know? An Oral-B electric toothbrush gives you a way better clean than a manual brush.
Says you, bitch. These double ads are really getting annoying.
If I bring him up to here, he just has potential energy and he's not moving, so there's no kinetic energy. And as I let him go, he swings backwards and forwards between the same places, more or less.
So again, kind of a vacant description of what energy is. It really isn't just this relative to us thing. There's got to be some notion of what the, that there is something to be possessed and exchanged.
So big E is the symbol that gets used for energy, and it sort of crops up all over the place in physics, probably in the most famous equation of them all, E equals mc squared. The E in that is the energy of something. It's just something which is always conserved, so it's either nuclear energy, energy associated with mass, E equals mc squared. It's energy associated...
So again, he says it's associated with mass, but it's only associated with mass in the sense of what happens inside of atoms. That's what makes them energetic, and the fact that they are pressurized. So again, it's like a denial of the actual function, which is there's a force that expresses energy. And without the force, there's no energy. If I put stuff in the universe and there's no force, then none of that stuff's going to move. There's not going to be any evidence of energy. The matter is completely the servant of the force, the energy. The stuff moving the speed of light is the stuff making everything move.
with thermal motion, or it can be in an electromagnetic field. It can have many different forms. But if you add all these things together at each stage and keep the bookkeeping, it is that quantity which is always conserved. But I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's one of those deep mysteries.
Yes, motion is conserved in the sense that it's always caused by the force. And as Newton would say, something keeps doing what it's doing until a force acts on it. So the statement before that would be, well, you can't have it doing something until a force must have acted on it previously. So if it's actually doing something, then the force must have acted on it earlier to make it do something. So, yes, and that must be conserved. You can't destroy the energy, the force, the little photon bits, the little moving stuff never dies. It just goes someplace else or gets caught in a trap. That's it. It's always on the highway. And it either has a clear road or it's stuck in a trap.
So if one of your kids said, Dad, what is energy? How would you answer that?
That's a tough question. What is energy?
Have you got a dictionary, George? I've got one upstairs.
We'll look it up another day.
Okay.
You see, it's how much oomph something's got, but that's not really a very scientific definition, is it, really?
No, it's good.
Yeah, no, it sucks.
Energy comes in many different forms, and the normal ones we talk about are energy due to motion, which is called kinetic energy, and energy due to position, which is called potential energy.
Yeah, well, you can't have position without motion, so there again, just doesn't, you know. I mean, you can't get to the top of the mountain unless something puts you there.
Although there are all these different kinds of energy, there's kind of an exchange rate between them, so you can actually interchange. You can change your potential energy into kinetic energy by dropping something, for example. So they are all really the same thing, but it's just stored in different forms. So you can have the chemical energy stored in a battery, for example, which you can then turn into kinetic energy when you plug that battery in.
Right. So again, it's energy trapped, that is energy not causing something to move, versus energy on the loose. So, and when you have it trapped, it's giving you momentum because you trapped its original vector. So it's there, waiting to be free.
And so I touch here. This is just a battery. There's a magnet down here, and as I touch it, it spins round like mad. And as I leave it, you'll see it's not a perpetual motion machine unless I leave the electrical contact. It slows down and comes to a stop. So if you're a child on a swing and you move backwards, that's energy due to position. But if you let it go and it moves, that's energy due to motion. So I'd like you to imagine.
So energy due to motion, when it's actually energy causing motion. It's the release of the energy. When the swing's going down, it's because it's let a bunch of energy loose in the opposite direction. You have to release to change your balance. You have to, it's the only way it can happen. The only way potential energy is converted into motion is by releasing the energy in the opposite direction of the motion you intend to moving.
Now this was given to me by my son for Christmas. It's very strange when you're a physicist what you get given for presents at Christmas, but this is my Albert Einstein doll complete with a bit of chalk.
What did you think when you were given that?
Oh, I had to say how wonderful it is, and he's going to be watching this. It was wonderful, Peter. Anyway, imagine Einstein.
Just, the people who breed. It's just amazing. What are people thinking? Oh yeah, I'm worth making a copy of.
Pole vaulter, and he's charging along with this meter rule pretending to be pole vaulting. And he comes all the way along to the little place where...
So really there's no conversation of the nature of energy here. They're just talking about the difference between when the energy is released and when the energy is stored. And that's all he's doing here. So obviously the pole vaulter is just storing the energy in the pole, and then he releases it to get over the bar.
in the hole, and this gets bent and bent and bent. And now all the energy, his kinetic energy of motion, has been turned into bending energy of this rod. And then he comes up as this unfurls, and he now just has potential energy due to his position. But being Einstein, he was the wrong way round. He should go over feet first, and there will be a rod and he'd fall down. So that's one example where you're converting kinetic energy of him sprinting as fast as he can to get as much kinetic energy into potential energy of this bending of the pole.
Yes. So again, just, you know, almost like too grammar school an explanation. Doesn't really get to the heart of it.
Into potential energy due to his position. And if he's very clever, he can distort himself into such a shape that he gets his feet over first and then his legs and his arms go up in the air.
Fascinating.
And he can manage to get over even though his centre of gravity is below the bar. Another example for poor Mr. Einstein, I'm going to put him on a swing. Because when I was a child, I never knew how to do the swing properly, and my mother always had to push me.
Right, so then you had kids. They're too stupid to figure out how to use a swing. I mean, that should be a giveaway. Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't reproduce. And somebody had to teach me how a swing works.
I'm going to fix him up so his fingers and toes are all wrapped around this properly.
Very
and we'll let
exciting.
him swing. So if I bring him up to here, he just has potential energy and he's not moving, so there's no kinetic energy. And as I let him go, he swings backwards and forwards between the...
So the potential energy, okay, was in the fact that he brought him up, moved him up in gravity. So he did the work to raise Einstein to a higher gravitational level. And that in doing that, he had to release energy in the opposite direction to get Einstein up. So he had to lose some energy to do that.
Places, more or less. But if you notice carefully, it's slowing down. It's slowing down. It's not coming back as far as it did before. The result of...
So now he's going to get into a friction argument, which really doesn't have anything to do with energy in the sense that it'd be better to point out that any motion, any little bits that move as a result of Einstein, that is any air molecules moving, any tears in the little threads, any threads rubbing against a metal surface and fraying, any movement caused by this potential swinging will slow down the swinging. That's energy lost to the system. And so obviously if you have a system that constantly has losses, that is you're moving the air molecules the whole fucking time, obviously it's a system that would run out of energy. You could have said it that way.
Movement of Einstein through the air, and there's some friction and dissipation of energy. Here it's all potential energy and there's nothing else. Here it's partly kinetic because he's moving and he's reduced his potential energy. The sum of the two is constant. When he gets down to the bottom, it's all kinetic energy and there's no potential energy. And the sum is constant, apart from this little loss of energy due to friction. And then it goes up, and there might be some rocking motion.
He just goes back to the state it was in the sense that he's going to be giving back the energy that put him up at a place and held him there. So once he's released, that's releasing the balance, the thing that was balancing his energy. That means the thing that was creating a force pushing up. So that force pushing up was pushing on Einstein. So Einstein had that force in him. And then when he takes his hand away and lets him fall, well, now he's back to his original state, which is he has an imbalance in this direction. And so he's going to go in that direction. And then when he gets to the other side, it's going to reverse and blah, blah, blah.
But if you take account of all sources of energy,
swinging back up will be reloading his potential energy. So he's going to rechange his balance to the opposite balance. He'll have too much going one way and the other way, and then he'll go back down the other way.
Then the total is fixed. This is the law of conservation of energy. It means that if you do the accounting properly and you add up all the terms mathematically, all the terms, and then put it as a total, as the time varies, this remains constant. And it seems to be one of the most fundamental laws of nature. Energy is conserved.
Yes, motion is conserved. So again, all you're really talking about is momentum. So the atoms are moving, the little bits, everything in the system moves, and anything you're causing to move will have to be accounted for with what you put in originally in terms of energy. Things can't move if you don't feed them. They have to be fed the energy to move. And if you fed them energy, that means, and that energy isn't going to be coming back to you, then those losses are real. Forever. It's gone. You let it get away. It can't reload your battery. It can't refeed the battery, so it just keeps ticking, swinging back and forth by reloading the potential and then reloading the potential. You can't do any of that if you're losing it to some other part of the atmosphere.
Older unit of energy called an erg, which is actually 10 to the minus 7 of a joule, so a 10 millionth of a joule. And for some reason, astronomers insist on holding on to it. It's a unit which the rest of the world threw away decades ago. But for some reason, many astronomers insist on continuing to measure their units in this.
Yeah, whatever. So that means that just sort of proves your people are clueless lunatics.
Erg is a pathetically tiny, it's like the kinetic energy of a gnat or something. It's some pathetically small unit. So it's completely ridiculous for astronomy, but for some reason just sort of lost in the mist of time now. It's a unit that astronomers insist on keeping on using.
Can I now talk about how kids at school could get this thing to rock backwards and forwards? I could never do it. You can either stand up on here or you sit down on your stool, and at one part of the cycle when it's coming back, you tuck your legs under, and when you get to the other part of the cycle where it's going forward, you lean back. Ah! And as a result of leaning forward, you lower your centre of mass. In other words, where you're heaviest, which is around here, you lower it down. And when you go the other way, you're lowering it down. So you're changing effectively the length of the pendulum twice in a cycle. And if you do this at the right point, if you do it just at the right point, you will increase your energy. And everybody will say, how are you getting the energy higher? And the reason is you're doing work over the cycle, and this is pumping energy.
Yeah, but the obvious part is none of that will work unless you're holding on to the ropes. And so what you're clearly doing is bending the pendulum, so you're accelerating the pendulum. It's that obvious. So what you're really doing, you're just taking, the ropes are going like this on the swing, okay? When you're holding the ropes and you move your mass, you're just moving. You're saying to the pendulum, go faster. You're forcing it to move faster than it was moving. So you've added momentum to the pendulum. Using your muscles. The difference from your arms to your butt. And those two things are now uneven. So you're twisting, you know, the pendulum in a straight line, and then you're bending it. So you're pushing momentum into it. Duh. So he still hasn't got the right answer. Still hasn't figured out how it really works. You don't use your arms, you're hopeless. You're not going to get too far just trying to move your center of mass, but you really can't when you're sitting in a chair.
When Olympic gymnasts are holding onto the bar and they go round and round in circle, and you can see they've got rosin on their fingers, and there's clearly friction. They bend themselves at one point in the cycle to raise their centre of gravity, and that way they pump it.
You know, they pump energy in by Man, these are all wrong answers. They're changing. It's just what the skater's doing. Okay, to spin faster, and then you put your arms out and you spin slower. They're just doing the same thing. The gymnast is just compressing their circular orbit. So they're bringing their butt and legs up, which is making them into a smaller circle. So now their swing rate is faster. They're increasing the velocity of their swing. Jeez, not too smart.
The system.
All right. Well, that was as bad as I feared it would be. So, yeah, just bad. Bad. All right, so we're not going to do superstring theory. Answers, Part 1, 60 symbols. I wonder what answers means. Probably dopey questions by the lunatics who watch the videos, so that's no good. Ah, the old Richard Feynman videos. Character of Physical Law. Where he, you know, this is the old one from Cornell, I think, or whatever it is. Some college. So, why is light slower in glass? Yeah, I've watched that one. They just give two confusing answers. Very undecisive. Quantum entanglement. Oh, please. Stupid shit. Why you can't go faster than light with equations? Yeah, no, the equations were written to close the door. The equations were merely written to say, here, how can we write an equation that says it's impossible to go to the speed of light? All right, we'll just do this Lorentz thing that as soon as the velocity goes up, the mass goes way up, or we'll invertly relate these things so it's impossible to ever make the denominator bigger than the numerator. So equations don't mean anything. I mean, in that case, I mean, the whole Lorentz thing has never been proven to have anything to do with the truth. It's just a little gimmick. So anyway, the amazing world of gravity. Well, I'm sure that's not amazing. Just horrible. I just hate this shit. Fucking idiot planet. Fucking morons everywhere. Alright. So, I guess I might as well go back to it and listen to my videos. The only rational videos on YouTube.
So if you have something diverging, you can use that as a...
Yes, very good. I guess I didn't image that very well, but the idea is you have a wedge, you know. You could use a wedge to measure distances, you know, very well, because the wedge, as it goes further, it gets thicker, makes a very good ruler. Alright, but anyway, so I guess that's it. There's nothing else I can do. Surrounded by idiots. Surrounded by them. Ah, look, a new comment. Yay. Let's see. Fairly decent overview. I gave it a thumbs up. Well, I don't think that matters much, but thank you. I like the way you demonstrate the two flavors of force with respect to magnetism and how it filters. Yes, it's just a filter. Magnetisms don't make any force. Magnetisms don't create energy. They just filter the energy that already exists. And people should be able to understand that. That's why magnets aren't hot. You know, that's why they're not vibrating. That's why they're not doing anything. They look like they're completely dead. How do people think they keep making this magnetism shit? Obviously, it's not coming from the magnet. The magnet's taking the energy from the field, from the vacuum, all right, and converting that energy into some kind of new form of energy. Same energy, just in a segregated and now polarized. It's just so obvious that that's the answer. There's no virtual photons. There's real ones. Oh, God. It's just so obvious. And you people are so fucking belligerently stupid. Fuck. Anyway. Hopeless. Dismally hopeless. Oh, yeah, Piro. I just watched the Piro video. Stupid as... He's been obtuse, strange, bizarre, loop-de-doo, useless many times in his life. But this has to be... This is like he's now reached... Like, he's just going to get crazier instead of saner. He did a video on math from data, linear regression plus some sort of crap about making parabolas or something. It's just like... It's so randomly disconnected from anything. You're saying, what the fuck is this? What are you talking about? Who the fuck could care about this crap? Just amazing. No, I mean, it's just... it's just It's just getting so strange, this planet. So fucking strange. I mean, I'm finding less and less of it. I can't relate to it. It's, you know, how did I end up on this, in this shithole of fucking just asses for brains? You know. I mean, I probably should do a video on the M&M channel about this whole Gillette thing. You know, all these men who are so afraid. Oh, they're beating up on us poor white people. We're so oppressed. Such a pile of horse shit. Like, none of these people would trade places with a black woman or with a woman. No, these men, these big brave men who are feel so oppressed. I mean, it's just such horse shit. This complaining. Like, somehow, you know, white men have never been so oppressed. It's just amazing. And why? Because, oh, they have to concede that, you know, most of your male habits are fucking immature and childish. Drive too fast, eat shit, you know, get fat. And of course, I mean, you know, who doesn't love a good beard on a man? I mean, that's got to be the sexiest thing, right? I mean, I'd actually have sex with an animal before I would have sex with a man with a beard. I mean, there's not too many animals I find more repulsive than a man's face with beard on it. You know, there's not like an asshole more disgusting. And, you know, they're just so clueless. You know. Just amazing. Amazing. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's all. I mean, I go on a whole rant about it, but I mean, it's just so funny. You know, here you are. You have testicles and a penis. You're way ahead of the woman, and they're bitching, like, "Oh, I'm so oppressed." No, they're oppressed. You don't get pregnant. You don't have a period, and you're whining about what? I mean, how many men actually have to work for women? First off, right? Minority. And then how many white people have to work for black people? You know, small percentage. And they're crying like little babies. I mean, I'm not for all this immigration shit. I'm not for handing the country over to a bunch of, you know, ignorant masses from shitholes. But this whining, that somehow you're being oppressed, it's just such horse shit. And somehow everybody shouldn't say just how marvelous you all are. You know, with your dirty, filthy, stinking, lousy, rotten, putrid, cruddy habits. You know, your love affair with violence. You know, you actually, to entertain yourselves, you sit there and watch shows where two men knock each other's teeth out. And you say, oh, that was fun. No, that's retarded. Fucking retarded. You know, you have competitions to see how many deep-fried turkeys you can fit in a garbage can or something. I mean, you're retarded. All right, it's enough. You should be mocked. You know, but so should 400-pound women in spandex, and you know, so should lots of things. You know, and they are. So why are you complaining? Jesus. Enough. Yeah. No. None of that political stuff here, thank you. So, just ignore that last 5 minutes. And until the next time.